It's always a great honor to speak with Charlie Gehring for any reason, about anything. But when I had the opportunity to interview him earlier this year, we talked about so many things that I thought it was worthy of breaking up into several segments. The first of which I've brought you already. But when he asked me, do you want to talk about the murder of Premero? I almost jumped out of my seat. It was like Mick Jagger asking me if I wanted to hear the real story behind Gimme Shelter. I mean, this is an incredible story, and one that I have been singularly fascinated by the entire time I've been researching this overall era, this lost American history. Anyway, there's no reason for me to tell it to you on my own, because I had the opportunity to do it alongside the GOAT himself, Dr. Charles T. Gehring, and I am extremely proud and honored to introduce this segment to you now, The Murder of Premero on Manhattan Island, January of 1641, as told through the incredible mind of Dr. Charles T. Gehring.
The Dutch were litigious because they could be, because they could take things to court. Court met every Tuesday, and they would have extraordinary meetings if certain events needed more time. So they had access to the court. They could get decisions made fairly quickly, rather than waiting for a grand council or something. The power of the petition was very important in the Dutch administration.
Yeah. So what happened on the southern tip of Manhattan Island on January 6, 1641? What was going on down there?
Yeah, I wish we knew. Jan Premero was killed in the woods near their houses. So we know that this group of slaves were living in houses near the woods north of the village of New Amsterdam. There was no wall at that time. That's not built till 53. So they're up in a quasi-remote area. And it's not until the 17th of January that the fiscal, who is a law enforcement officer as well, indicts this group of slaves, and there are 8 altogether. That there had been 9 before Premero was killed. He interviews them, and the whole proceeding is like any other proceeding. If these guys were all, let's say, Dutch, it would have been handled exactly the same way. And they refused to tell who dealt the fatal blow, who killed Premero. And this frustrates the Dutch authorities, because at this point, they're all guilty. And they say that we unanimously killed Premero. And they refused to relent on that issue.
Right. So let me point out that these charges were brought against, and I'm going to quote part of this now, against little Antonio Paulo d'Angola, Gracia or Grauia d'Angola. These were the names that these people had based on where they came from, right?
Yeah.
Jan de Fort Orange, Manuel of Garrett de Roos, Anthony the Portuguese, Manuel Minuit, Simon Congo, and Big Manuel. Just quoting still. All blacks and slaves of the aforesaid company in which criminal proceedings by the fiscal are charged with the murder of Jan Premero, also a slave. It is a very unique, I've never heard of this before, where a whole group of people are brought up on the same charge, right?
Yeah, they refused to tell. They refused to tell who killed Premero. They're sticking together, and they feel, for one reason or another, that this is their best defense. If the guilty person is going to be hanged, they'll all have to be hanged. And the Dutch do not want to hang 8 valuable workers.
Right.
And this is sort of at the bottom of it all is the importance of the slave as a uh, part of the workforce of the West India Company. And it's interesting that there's so many Manuels. There are three involved here. There's Manuel, Groot Manuel, Klein Manuel, and then Manuel de Geert de Rus.
So the murder occurred on January 6th, and then this was arraigned on January 17th. Why was that?
He may have been working with them to try to get them to confess, but the best he could do was to get the statement that we all confess to the murder. We all confess to the murder, and it's not going to change one bit.
This is happening in the fort, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're probably they've all been brought in, and they're probably confined. There was a jail in the fort, and they're probably all in this jail, waiting for some progress in in the court proceedings.
Where was the fort geographically, if you could place it on a block? For people today, if you want to tell them this is where the fort was, where would you tell them?
There's a lot of fill from where the tip of the fort used to be. But if you walk down where the customs house is,
Yeah,
and
the
there's a
Alexander Hamilton.
Indian museum there now,
Right.
that's where the fort was.
Yeah.
Was right on top of that. For
Right.
years, I've been trying to find out when they dug for the foundation for the customs house, did they dig into the fort at all? And I haven't been able to find anything about that. But that's again
Yeah.
another story.
Man, that would have been good to
In
know.
fact, there's a plaque as you walk by the west side of the building. You'll see a plaque that says this is where Fort Amsterdam was. And it's also indicated that their testimony came without shackles or torture.
Right, that they willingly gave this testimony, that the 8 of us killed this guy,
Yeah.
right? Protecting each other.
What they sometimes would do in these cases, they would use torture, but they didn't in this case. But they still relented. So, what was the solution? To draw lots, and now they have come up. I could almost see them scheming and how to carry this out, how to make progress in this situation where nobody will confess, where they're faced with hanging 8 slaves, and they don't want to do that. So they draw lots. And it's very clearly stated that it'll be up to God to pick the right person to draw the fatal lot. So now they've decided that they're off the hook because God is going to be the person to decide who's guilty. And it's in the providence of God to make this decision and to be responsible.
Yeah. That's the
And
way they write it. That's the way they write it right in there.
yeah, yeah, and that's what they do. And Manuel de Geert de Rus draws the lot, and he's sentenced immediately to be hanged on the 24th.
To be carried out the next week.
The next session.
Next Thursday,
yeah,
yeah.
7 days. So there's a place inside the fort again where they would be hanged, where other hangings took place. And it says that he is put on a ladder. Actually, it says in the Dutch, twee stroppen. A strop is a noose. Now, I don't know whether it was a typical hangman's noose that we're familiar with, or just whether they just tied a loop around the neck, but they were Twee goede stroppen, two good nooses, two good ropes. The ladder's kicked out by Jan van Fortoranje. He is black, but also an executioner. He executes someone at Fort Orange. And so he kicks the ladder out, and the ropes break, which is unbelievable. When I first read that, all I could picture were there's a statement that the Batavia that ran aground off of Australia had 21 kilometers of rope aboard the ship, and it's made out of hemp. The Dutch knew how to make rope. In fact, two good ropes around his neck broke, and it is unbelievable that that would happen.
So do you
And
think that is what happened, or do you think this is a story they're telling because they didn't want to kill anybody?
it's a demonstration. It's all planned. It's all assumption, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe there was something wrong with the rope and so forth, but it's my opinion that they set this up so that the ropes would break. God is involved again, and it's not anyone else's fault that the ropes broke, but he picked Manuel, and he decided that he was going to absolve him. And the crowd, of course, pleads for mercy, and it's a long statement in the test or in the document that they feel that the punishment has been partially carried out.
Right.
In other words, that he has been put on the ladder and ropes around his neck, and he is more or less internally being tortured before he's going to die. This is similar to Dostoevsky when he was going to be shot as punishment, and they have the firing squad all set up and so forth, and they go through the whole thing right down to fire, and they absolve him. They release him. So it is a way of carrying out punishment and still keeping the person alive.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of pomp and circumstance to it,
yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Do you think that has something to do with the fact that now it was the 6th was a Sunday when this actually happened. That's the Sabbath to these Reformed Protestants. Do you think they made a bigger demonstration about it because of that? That, God forbid somebody does something like this on the Sabbath. We have to make a demonstration.
Yeah. It certainly enforces or strengthens the whole uh, idea that it's God doing this.
Because when people say, "Oh, they were religious," I don't think they were so religious. They were just so beholden to the rules and guidelines of the Bible, as I see it, that they were strictly adhering to what it says in the Bible, and the Scripture guided these people unlike anything I've ever seen.
My feeling is uh, that they always looked upon situations like this, that if they didn't do this, that if they didn't carry out the punishment, if they didn't uh, adhere to what had been done in situations like this in the past, that the entire community would suffer. They still remembered, they still not still remembered, but the Black Death was still on everybody's mind, and it was still viewed as punishment for the people at that time, the beginning of that long period of disease and massive death. And it still weighed on them. And it in most of the proceedings like this, they state that it is to be an example to others, and also that they didn't want to affect the entire community. If they the most important thing in the Dutch community was harmony, was keeping everyone happy, everybody satisfied, everybody employed, and you didn't want disharmony of any kind. And this was a way for them to show that they had the authority to do this. And they were serious enough to kick him off a ladder with ropes around his neck. And the next time, the ropes aren't going to break.
Right.
The next time, God's going to say, all right, his time is up.
And again, this is a community, a civilization that was literally forged from scratch in 1623 or 4, or maybe a little bit before that. But they were making it up as they were going along, weren't they? And there's a couple hundred people here at this point.
They weren't making it up. They had books were sent over, legal books, the various regulations and how to carry out certain things according to the laws of the city of Amsterdam, mostly, and they adhered to these rules and regulations.
So
And
Dutch Republic, or what the laws of New Netherland was bound to, more or less.
yeah, and so it wasn't being made up. They may have bent things to satisfy themselves, like in this case. To me, they were really more interested in keeping Manuel alive. This group of slaves probably came in. They may very well have arrived, one of the first group of slaves, in 1627 aboard the Braunvis, the porpoise. And they were taken off of a Portuguese slave ship. They had more or less captured the ship at sea, and it was full of slaves, and they picked out 20 of the best men aboard that ship and brought them to New Amsterdam. It says in the document that in the manumission, that they had been here in the service of the West India Company for 18 to 19 years. And that would push it back to 26. And the porpoise shows up at 27. It's close enough that they could be that same group.
That was the ship that Mikan came on.
Yeah.
That's our episode 9. Yep. We talked about that ship.
Good.
Wow, amazing, Charlie. I just want to say I really, this story amazes me. It always has. It's always been so compelling in so many ways. There's something, dark and beautiful about the fact that they spare this guy and all of them. And that if they set it up and they cut the rope themselves, great. I mean, more power to them. It's such an incredible story. And I just
it brings things alive. You can almost hear them getting together, or hear what they're discussing and what their thoughts are and what's important. We're prioritizing things, and it's a good story.
It's a feel-good story, right?
Yeah,
because they needed everybody they had there at the time. It was hard to get people to go there in that era, right?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, look, Charlie, if you hadn't taken that job back in '74, I wouldn't have known any of this, and everybody listening wouldn't have known any of this. So.
Somebody else would have done it probably.
I don't think so, buddy. I don't think so. I think this guy here is literally a component of our lost American history that's no longer lost thanks to him. And I also just want to thank you so much for all the knowledge you've imparted, and not just that, the wisdom you've imparted, and also the passion for this study, as well as the encouragement that you've given me to keep going with it all. It means a lot to me, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you, meneer. Thank you.
I appreciate that chance.
Okay.
It's always good to talk to you.
You too. You too. He's a living legend, ladies and gentlemen. Not just a chronicler of this critical history, but in fact, a piece of that very remarkable history himself. He is the one and only Dr. Charles T. Gehring, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again, sir, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Been my pleasure.
Please be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay with us here at History is Cool on YouTube. History is Cool on YouTube. Island and History is Cool are podcasts by Chance Kelly and Dr. Yap Jacobs, and are available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Climb aboard. History's cool.